All right, Bill. Everybody's talking about like I get so many different opinions about the Florida housing market and where it stands. Okay, and after I'm looking at it and doing research into, obviously I'm surrounded by real estate agents,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I talk to buyers, I talk to sellers. You really don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out where the housing market stands. You don't need, you don't need a real estate agent in that sense. Like, oh, is the housing market good or is it bad? And if you listen to YouTube channels, and if it's a real estate agent, I'm going to be a little bit negative. It's a real estate agent trying to show a house, saying, okay, this house is beautiful. It's 500,000. We have a pool,
Mm-hmm.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths. We have an office. They're trying to sell you a house. My point with this video is you need to know where the housing market stands in your area, because not all areas are equal.
No, it's different everywhere.
It is different everywhere.
Even in Tampa Bay, it's different. Micro markets all over the place.
So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to teach you, okay, up to a certain point. Make sure you can understand.
Like this video is gonna be long.
But we're going to show you how to determine if the market is good where you want to buy. So you don't have to rely on people that have different agendas on their mind, okay?
Some quick tips for them to assess the current state of the market in the area that they want to move to.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. So that's where we're going to go. In the meantime, if you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. It really does help out the channel. And the algorithm loves when people subscribe. And I'm really trying to build up. You guys have been helping me out greatly, and it's greatly appreciated. But hit that subscribe button, share, and everything. All right, Bill. You ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Bill, tell me, and I want to talk about it, is the number one thing you should look at in an area is the average days houses are on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's a good way to do that? Now, these people don't have access to MLS.
Right. So you can do a couple of different ways. So you can go to your favorite public portal and you can start to look and see what the average days on market are for a specific area, right? You can start manually do it. You could also use your favorite large language model, like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini.
Really?
And you can say, hey, what is the average days on market for this zip code? And then you have to give it some parameters to say within, because you don't want it to just go random thinking willy-nilly for the last 2-3 years, right? But you can go, hey, in the last 6 months, what's the average days on market in this area? And then you could bring it down and you could kind of get a fine-tune it a little bit from there.
So the average days on market, from the last time I looked, were like over 6, between 45 and 60 from what I'm seeing.
It depends on where you're at, yeah.
Where you are, okay, on average and stuff. So if you're in an area and you're doing this calculation that Bill's talking about, and the average day on the market is 45, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Or if the average day on the market is 90 days, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Just depends. So let's rewind the clock.
Okay.
Pre-pandemic.
All right.
We forget what life was like before the pandemic. And we think that 30 days on the market, that the world is crashing down around us.
Oh, I remember that, yeah. Because some houses were like 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. So pre-pandemic, 30 days was pretty normal. 45 days is pretty normal. Like, this is not an unheard of thing. 2 months is kind of normal, but you're getting a little stale, right? So if you're hunting for a deal right now, start looking for those properties that are 30 to 45 and 60 days older, because you might have a little bit more negotiating power right now.
So you're saying, I want to make sure people understand this. So you're saying that the better deals might be the ones that are 60 days on the market?
Yeah, because the ones that are 60 days on the market look to see if they've gone through a price reduction, right? They might have some wiggle room because it's getting stale. So you have, we'll just break it down to 2 seller types, right? You have the sellers that really need to sell their house.
Right.
And then you have sellers, truthfully, they just don't care. If they sell, they sell. If they don't, they don't. Yes, do they want to move somewhere else? Yeah, but they have a point where they're not going to go too low. They don't want to lose too much money. And they're just like, listen, I'll pull it off the market for a year until everything stabilizes out, and then I'll put it back up on the market again, because they're just not willing to negotiate down below a certain point. Just like you're not willing to pay more if you were shopping for a car. Like, listen, I'm not going to pay more than this for this product. No different.
Yeah.
But start looking at those days on market. Look at the average gives you the idea. So then you can parse it down to a smaller, like the zip code level. And that's where you're going to get a good idea of those outliers that have been sitting there too long.
But how do you determine, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but how do you determine what's good for a particular area? Say, somebody might say, okay, my area that I want to buy a house, it's the average day on the market is 55. This video is about how do you know if the market is good or bad? Is that a good or a bad?
It depends. So again, you go back and you look pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic, what the average day was.
Because nobody cares about what happened during the unicorn years.
But
those
how
are
did
irrelevant
they get
days.
the numbers pre-pandemic?
Just go on. They're all public data.
Okay.
That's why I said to make life simple, you just use a large language model, because they can pull the data quickly and easily for you from history.
Got it. Now I understand.
That it's made life a lot easier, where before you would have to go back and look at product history, property histories and stuff, and pull the data. And there's tons of data out there. I'm just saying that this is the easy way to do it on your own. There's services you could pay for. There's public, there's public stuff. You could watch YouTube videos, MLS data we get all the time, and can pull stats. Florida Realtors Association has it. So you can see what the historical days on market is. There's tons of services that you can go in and look. And I'm pretty positive, I might not, I don't know, because some of my stuff just logs in automatically, but I believe the Pinellas Realtors Association or the Florida Realtors Association, I believe it's public. That information's public. Realtor.com has great historical information too, by the way.
Okay, that's really good to know.
Yep.
All right, Bill, to learn how to read the market in your area where you want to buy, you have another one.
Yeah, it's something that kind of ties in with days on market, and I touched on it a little bit. It would be price reduction and trends. Because I said, look at the history on the house and have they had a price reduction? So look to see if they've had a price reduction, and then look to see if all the houses that you're looking at in that area, because you're kind of let's say you're honed in on a specific neighborhood or zip code-ish area. There's not that many houses to look at, right? So you're going to go through and you look to see how many of them have had price reductions. So that tells me that they've all priced aspirationally.
Well, explain what aspirationally is.
Too high. They're like, I really hope I get this, because I saw one house that sold for this, but the reality is it's probably going to be more market price.
So going to the premise of this video, how do you know when there's a lot of price reductions if the area is good or bad, if the market is good or bad?
So I'm also going to look at, now if you're talking like super specifics in an area, you're going to get in the car, you're going to drive over there, and you're going to look around. So are we having price reductions and then no sales, or are we having price reductions and a sale?
Oh, okay. That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
and then
really
I'm going to go look at the neighborhood. Is the neighborhood kind of starting to look I'm looking at how many houses are for sale. So sometimes what happens is you're going to see one house go for sale, and then typically you'll have a few other houses go for sale because they get kind of excited. And they're like, I think we were thinking about selling, and then it's somebody took the lead and now they've set a base point. But if I'm looking at a neighborhood and I start seeing a whole bunch of houses go for sale and then a whole bunch of reductions, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious as to why that neighborhood all of a sudden had a bunch of properties go for sale.
Bill, a common thing that a lot of people talk about, whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market or a neutral market, and me and you used to have disagreements on this. Because it all depends. We had a disagreement because of condos and townhouses and single families. Months on market, okay? So
months of inventory?
Months of inventory,
okay.
Yeah. And so if you could explain the basic terms of what we mean by months of inventory and why those numbers could be skewed in a sense, and what is considered good and what's considered bad to determine a particular area. I threw 3 questions at you, but you can handle it.
Okay, but we can
wrap it up.
We can wrap it up into one.
Yeah.
Okay, so months of inventory is a measure of the volume of sales and the temperature of sales, whether it's more on the buyer leverage side or the seller's leverage side. So as a rule of thumb, 6 is what's called a balanced market. Somewhere between 5 and 6.5 or so is a balanced market, meaning both sides have equal leverage.
So you're talking about it takes 6. If nobody listed their houses again, it'll take 6 months to get rid of the inventory.
At the current rate of closings per month.
Right.
So that tells you kind of the state of the market. So if you look at the state of Florida, we're roughly 6 point something to 7 months of inventory. That's everything. That's condos, single family home. That's everything, right? Because that gives you a more holistic. But if you start looking at, if you separate out condos, right, and then maybe we go to Tampa Bay, single family homes only, our inventory might be the exact same as, let's say, Pasco County, right? But we got hit a lot harder with the hurricane. So our sales are up and sales are slow because a lot of the things that are for sale are on the coast, right?
Yeah.
So that all skews those days on market. Those months of inventory. So then you bring it into, as an example, I told you today I'm doing research on a house, and I brought it down to the zip code level in Clearwater. And this particular zip code has 2.3 months of inventory based on the sales. So you're thinking, wow, what a difference between 7 months of inventory and 2.3 months. I'm getting a little granular, but that's where you really break things down into a micro market. And then I look back at history on that zip code to give me a full idea.
So to bring it back down to the basics, so you're saying if there's more than 6 months of inventory in a particular area that somebody wants to buy it, the area might be hurting.
No, it's just a buyer's market.
But not hurting.
No, it doesn't necessarily mean an area is hurting. It just means that it's the buyer's market, meaning they have more leverage on listings. So the more realistic people get with their listings, the more we swing back to a neutral market.
Okay, I want to know if an area is bad or good in a particular area.
It's not going to tell you if it's
not
bad
going to tell
or
you.
good.
So even if there's 10 months of inventory, it's not going to tell you, saying.
You're going to go, well, why does this have 10 months of inventory? And you're going to look at how long the property, days on market.
You're going to go back to the original.
Go back to the days on market. See, it's not one piece of a puzzle.
It's a bunch. That's what I was trying to get at.
It's not one thing. Everybody likes to put a tack on something and go, this. Because all the articles do it, right? Every article, every YouTube video.
That's why people read and watch the videos.
Oh my God, 6 months of inventory. Florida's in a crisis. We're all going to, its crash is coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one thing. It's a whole bunch of little things. And then if you pull out condos as an example and just do their own data, the single family home market is not that bad.
Right.
But then you go to condos are in trouble.
Oh yeah.
Condos are in trouble, but they're starting to heal. It's just a measure of leverage. Who has the buyer? So as a practical example, if I was listing your house, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to say, listen, there's 7 months of inventory here in, let's say, Clearwater. We have the average is 45 days on market. Okay, so now I've set an expectation. 45 days. Don't panic if your house doesn't sell in 30 days. And that also tells me that, hey, listen, there's a lot more choice for the buyers out there. So if we want you to stand out from the crowd, we're gonna have to do some mulch. We're gonna have to clean up the yard a little bit. We're gonna have to make this presented well. We're gonna have to market it a lot more aggressively. Mm-hmm. It's a holistic approach.
Okay, but the point on that months of market, just because it's 6, 8, 9, 10 months of market doesn't determine if the market is good or bad.
It's not a good or bad. It's just showing you a level of, because it can quickly shift the other direction.
I'm getting to a point.
I know where you're going.
So at the end of the video, we're gonna put it all together so you guys could go check out the different areas. Okay, Bill, give me another one. You're on a roll.
This one might be getting a little bit granular for people, but just for a talking point in the video, so you have all the information. Is list price to sale price ratio. So meaning I've listed my house for X. After negotiations, etc., we sold at, let's say, 98% of what I asked for the house. So 100% is what you asked for, what your opening offer was. Then you bake in some other price reductions. So now when I'm looking at this is telling me, all right, this is again another expectation metric. There's some wiggle room here. But if I'm starting to see 95%. 85%. Now that's a flag.
That's interesting.
That's a flag, right?
Okay,
So,
that's
and I've never
interesting.
seen 85%. I'm just saying that this, if you
Right,
start
right,
to see
right.
a
Yeah,
higher,
no, I see where you're going with this.
if you see a lower number, that's a flag to me that something's going on and that neighborhood is starting to decline.
So now people are going to ask, well, how do I see that data?
All this is all public information.
Okay, like Zillow and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, it's, you just aren't, you don't have the ability to parse it out like I do quickly. Like I can go to the MLS, which gives the information to Zillow. That's how they get their information, right? So the MLS that I use feeds the information over. I just have more back-end access to pull the information fast. You have to do it more, because they're trying to sell their product, which is mortgage and leads. They're selling leads. That's their product.
Right.
You know, they're there to sell and make money. That's why Zillow exists. And Realtor.com, Homes, they're all the same. But you can see the list to sale price ratio. And then I think they have a little thing on there. I know Realtor.com does, where you can see the trend. But it's all about trends. But if I would expect to see a little bit of reduction, because that's normal, again, when you go back pre-pandemic, it's called give and take.
Well, now that we're talking about that a little bit, Zillow, you know, the projections, like I'm not a big fan of the projections because just a few months ago, they said that our area was going to have a 3.8% growth with year over year. And then a week later, it was 2.5, then 1.2, and then 0.5. You know where it says the forecast projections for a certain area? You know, I mean, people are like, well, I could just go there and see what Zillow says that projection area is going to be in, you know, a year from now. You know, I really don't, you know, if you're buying now, you got to look at the market the way it is now.
Yeah, so the rule of thumb is, like, think about this. Don't look at, oh, what's my house going to be next year? Because if you're thinking about what's my house going to be next year, and that means you're trying to time the market. So if you're selling high, you're going to buy high. If you're selling low, you're going to buy low, right? If you're waiting for a black swan event or something bad to happen, then you might not have a job and you might not be able to purchase a home. So there's a whole bunch of different factors when you're trying to time the bottom of the market. But what you're also kind of trying to touch on is that, am I going to make money on my house next year? Because there's so much information out there, right? Why don't you take a look at one of the graphs from any of the resources out there, NAR, Florida Realtors, your brokerage in your town, and go back to 1985 and then look at the graph and see how it goes.
Historical.
It goes, look at historical data over decades. Where's the graph go? Up and to the right.
Yeah.
We've had a few blips, right? We had the great financial crisis where we blipped and we came back up, right? There's always ups and downs. Just look at history. If you're trying to be a flipper, you're in a different market, and these conversations are completely different. If you're trying to buy a house to live in your home, you're not buying a house to plan on moving next year. You're an investor at that point, not a homeowner.
Bill, I want to touch on this one, okay? Like, a lot of people are saying builders, especially developments, but this is not developments in area. Your area where you may be living in Pennsylvania or something might not have a development. But here, okay, people are saying that builders are like a canary in a coal mine, okay? What I mean by that, you look at their permits that they're applying for. Like Florida, the research I did, their permits are down year over year by 11%. So builders are slowing down new permits, not the existing ones, not the ones that they were going to do, new permits. So they're slowing down. So some people are saying, you know what, if you want to know how the market is, look at the local builders and see what permits they're building, what they're planning to do, because they spend millions of dollars researching areas before they build.
Yeah.
They don't want to get caught like they did in 2008.
Correct.
So they're being extra cautious. But the reason why I don't want to emphasize too long on that one is, yeah, we have big developments going on. You have Wesley Chapel, you have thousands of homes being built
ridiculous.
there.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's areas in Ohio, Pennsylvania, where I said New Hampshire, you could drive for freaking everywhere. You're not going to see any developments.
Right, right.
So it's kind of, for most people, it's not really a canary in a coal mine.
Right, it doesn't help. For us here, you know, we look at the new construction stuff, but again, let's take Newport Richey. Mm-hmm. New construction builds in Newport Richey, where you do a lot of your stuff. You know, they're like, oh my God, it's so slow, it's horrible. And then you go out to my area and they just broke ground on another new development and they're closing them out left and right because we're growing.
Well, you have a lot of hospitals and businesses moving in.
We have corporations, big corporations coming in.
Yeah, so they need housing for the people.
Yes.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly, and everybody's coming out to
We
where
don't,
we
Newport
are.
Richie, we don't have the
We don't
job,
have it.
the job
Your
demand.
job market's there already.
Yeah.
So I would expect your build centers where you've developed to be much slower than everybody out by me.
Yeah, because it's
Yep.
supply and demand.
I
That's
mean,
all
look
it
at that
is.
one hospital that's coming in, how many thousands of acres that it is. I mean, it's a huge, it's a cancer research center. It's amazing. It's absolutely huge. I mean, we have a new development going over there that's got 38,000 homes in it.
Literally, some of the subdivisions are so big in Wesley Chapel. I'm not going to touch on it too much, but they're building lagoons because instead
Yeah,
of
we
driving
have 3 lagoons there.
instead of driving 45 minutes to the beach, they're just building beaches.
Yeah. We have one of the largest lagoons in the country or the world out there. It's crazy. They're huge. They're
Yeah.
giant. They're great places. But they're building communities around that and they're developing new towns is what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Some people, Bill, say rental. What's the trends on rents? Are rents going up? Are they going down? Is that I kind of agree with this one. You may disagree, but I think that if rents, supply and demand again, if rents are going up, then I think the housing market is good because there's a lot of demand. People will have jobs there. They want to move there. They want to establish roots there. But if rents are dropping, because I know some areas that rents are dropping dramatically and the housing market stinks at the same time. I just feel like, in my opinion, that the housing market sales and the rental market go hand in hand. As the housing market does better, rent prices go up. As it goes weaker, it goes down.
Meaning like the more the volume of sales for homes goes up.
Yeah. Like I think it follows a trend. So if the housing market's doing good, rents go up. If the housing market's doing bad, rents go down. Keep it nice and basic.
For the most part, so rents right now are cooling. Particularly now, I don't really study the rents in every single jurisdiction, but because I don't have too much of a correlation for me, but I just look at let's take Wesley Chapel as an example. Over the last 2-year period, which was we'll call it 2023 to 2024, they put in 25 new apartment communities in Wesley Chapel, in the 3 zip code area of Wesley Chapel, and we have the last one coming online right now. They just started renting it last month. So, but it goes back to the influx of people again in industry. They've got to have somewhere to go.
Right.
We can't build the houses fast enough because it's quicker and faster
Supply
to
and
build.
demand.
Yep, supply and demand. It's quicker and faster to build an apartment complex to get affordable living. Those prices have come down, but they're still high. They're just they come down so they make you feel good. Bill's opinion makes you feel better, but they're still elevated compared to what they were. Now I look at what we do for the properties that we manage on the rental side of things for the residential properties I have. And those prices, we didn't do increases this last year because for our renewals, because the prices were going backwards. They've cooled a little bit. Not enough to where we're talking saving $50 a month. We're not talking tons of money here, but $50 is $50. Everything else went up, but it's like we have good tenants. Why would you change? Now next year we'll have to, the owners will reconsider. And I just pull all the market data and give it to them.
Bill, I'm going to combine a couple of them for the next ones. Okay. So we're going to do foreclosure and distressed sales.
Okay.
And local employment trends. All right. So obviously, if employment goes down in a particular area, people can't pay for their mortgage, and you start seeing short sales and foreclosures.
Correct.
Okay. That's why I'm combining the two. So in my opinion is if employment numbers are high in the area you want to buy, chances are that the housing market might not be that great and foreclosures may be up. Agree or disagree?
I agree with that.
Okay. So in my opinion is look at the employment numbers in a particular area because you could get employment, like employment numbers for Pasco, whatever,
everywhere.
And I think as, right now we're in the threes. We're still pretty good, which I'm shocked, but we are. But if it goes up to the 5, 6, then people can't pay their mortgages and foreclosures. So that's an easy way for me to determine how the housing market is in a particular area, because I could go online and I can see distressed sales.
Right. So here's the caveat that I want people to be aware of when you're looking at these things. So when somebody says distressed properties and foreclosures and they combine them together, they're two different animals. So separate them out. Distressed versus foreclosed. Foreclosed is the bank took it back. Distressed means you're behind on your mortgage.
Right.
Doesn't mean that
Like-
that could just be one payment.
Yeah, it could be like, and then it could go to short sale when they're trying to sell.
But it could just be one payment.
hmm
You're distressed, right?
One payment's considered
Yeah,
distressed?
if you when some of these market graphs, just pay attention to how many days late. So like I have a graph that I look at and it'll say 1 payment behind, 2 payments behind, 3 months behind.
Wow, okay.
And it's,
All right.
so just be cautious with this one. And then the other thing that I would say is, like, I saw a graph that came out the other day, and it says that the particular area that I was looking at, that roughly foreclosures were up 70%. And I'm like, what?
That sounds pretty bad.
Right. So I go, oh my God. And I looked at it, there were 3 foreclosures. So I'm like, okay, there were 3. Well, it was up 70% to when they chose to take the data.
I got it.
So like
You can manipulate any data. You have to look more
you
into
can
it.
manipulate it, is my point. So look at how many foreclosures, don't look at the percentages.
So let's do a little bit of recapping, okay? So you guys could read the market in your local area, okay? Days on market,
Okay?
okay? Price reductions. We talked about that. You got to look at the price reductions.
Yep.
Months of inventory.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the
Those
three
are
that
Those are the good ones.
those are the good ones you have to look at.
Yep.
Medium sale price versus asking price. So, people selling for less than they were asking. New construction permits, I wouldn't put a lot of
Don't worry
weight on
about
that one. Okay. Rental markets, I wouldn't put a lot of
Don't
rent
put
on
weight
that
on
one.
it. Who cares?
For closures and employment, I personally like that one.
I'm going to go 50-50 on that, because
Okay.
you can get yourself in trouble looking at that going, I'm not going to move to this neighborhood because X.
So I would build yourself a little spreadsheet, okay, and then just look at the last year or 2 years, and if you're not ready to buy right now, just follow it, and then you could create your own little graph,
Mm-hmm.
saying, okay, you know what, I did this data last month, and now this data is this month, and then next month, and then by the time you're ready to buy, you might see a trend, your own trend for a little area. You could break it down to neighborhoods. Literally, Bill lives in what, a 40-unit neighborhood?
In my neighborhood is, we have several thousand homes in the neighborhood itself, but we have these little baby neighborhoods. I have
How many
44.
houses you have?
44 in my gated community.
You can literally break down everything we talked about in those 44 homes. I'm saying you could go down
Oh,
to
yeah.
that small.
Oh yeah.
Say, okay, I don't care about it.
We've had 3 sales in 6 years.
Okay, so you had 3 sales. So
Right.
if you do months of supply in your neighborhood,
It's horrible.
it's horrible. If you do foreclosures in your
We
neighborhood,
don't have any.
you don't have any.
We don't have any in the entire neighborhood.
So if you do days on market, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You
You have to look at the whole picture.
You got to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
But then you could go outside his neighborhood where he does have thousands, and those numbers change dramatically.
Yeah. It'll change. So just when you're shopping, if you're going to buy, pay attention to your where the trends are. Inventory count is only going to say whether you're going to have more or less leverage, right? It can show some trends, but I'm going to look at days on market. If I'm looking at days on market right now, for practical advice, if you're buying today, I'm going to advise you, let's start targeting some of the higher days on market homes, because you're going to have more leverage to negotiate.
Sure.
And they're the people who have already done price reductions, right?
All right, but they could also be the people that I don't care. This is the price I want.
Right, but then if it hasn't had a price reduction, it's been sitting on the market for 90 days, it tells you right there
That's
what
true.
their mindset
Tells you
is.
right there, yeah.
Their mindset is, I am not going to change. So don't go in there thinking you're going to offer 5% under what they're asking.
I went on Zillow when I was doing research for this one, and I saw a house. I'm not kidding you, $120,000 price reduction. One price reduction, $120,000.
Yeah, I had one on for my buyers. I about fell over when I saw the flyer.
Yeah, it's insane. But anyways, now you guys know how to read the market, okay? Anyways, you can always call us. My phone number's below. You can reach out to Bill and everything, and he'll go over it with you. And he's actually, he doesn't know this yet, but he's working on a little spreadsheet that he will email it to you, and you can just fill in the data.
He's got me doing another project again. Okay, I love that he assigns me these
so
projects.
just reach out to him and say, like, hey, Bill, I want that spreadsheet, and he'll email it to you so you have it, so you don't have to even create that. Just follow the data. Anyways, like always, do me a favor, consider subscribing. It really does help out the channel. You need a real estate agent, my phone number is below. Watch this video right here. Pick that out just for you. It's a great video. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.